Hey everyone, this is Bill Krieger from the Veterans Archives podcast, where we preserve and share the incredible stories of our nation's heroes. Catch us every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern on Wreaths Across America Radio, or stream anytime on Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Really, anywhere you choose to get your podcast, you should be able to find us. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on social media to help us reach more veterans and supporters. We are a nonprofit, and this service is completely free for veterans. Every story matters, and every voice deserves to be heard. Spread the word, honor our heroes, and join us on this mission. Follow, share, and tune in, because their story should never be forgotten. Learn more at veteransarchives.org. We'll see you there. Today is Monday, August 25th. We're talking with Carmencita Pinckney, who served in the United States Navy and the Marine Corps Reserve. So good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Bill.
Absolutely. So we'll get started right out of the chute here. Very tough question. When and where were you born?
I was born in Lemoore, California, Navy base. I am a second generation Navy veteran, and I was born in December 26, 1966.
All right. It's funny you mentioned Lemoore, because when I was in basic training, there was a guy there, and his father was a Master Chief at Lemoore, and he did not want anyone to know who his dad was, but they saw his name and immediately he was picked on the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah. Good time for him.
Good times.
Yeah. So now, being part of a military family, then did you grow up in Lemoore or did you move around a lot?
Grew up in Lemoore, but then because of the transition and the transferring, we grew up all over, to include Puerto Rico, San Diego a couple of times, San Francisco a couple of times, and then we ended up being back in San Diego where we had relatives at.
Okay. And what was that like for you as a young person moving all over the place?
Didn't really pay attention to it then, but I sure do appreciate it now, because while we grew up on the base, it was at 5 years old, I was actually walking around by myself, probably even younger than that. And I remember one of the teenagers would just hang around with me as well. But I would actually leave the base housing, go to the commissary where my dad ran the commissary, and then I hung around with my dad a lot. So it was really nice watching Mr. Caruso drive around in his nice little nifty little car, smaller than a golf cart. And then my first time seeing somebody with an amputee was while I was at the commissary area, and I went and got a ice cream shortcake. I ended up throwing it away. It just upset my stomach. So now I'm a little bit more, as an adult, I'm a little bit more tolerant and acceptable of it, and it does not faze me the way it did before. But before, it's like, oh man. So I've never eaten another shortcake since then, but it's just nice knowing that I've seen family orientation on the base, to where we used to even go to church on the base. Kind of funny and ironic. We went to church, the Catholic church on the base, but then I became a religious program specialist on the active duty side.
Okay.
So.
All right. Any brothers and sisters?
I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. I am the second to the youngest. And then I have 3 older ones. So far, we're all alive, thank God. Unfortunately, we lost our parents.
Okay. Well, speaking of your parents, tell me a little bit about your dad.
My dad was a ship's hand. It used to be a ship's hand. Now it's what they call a storekeeper. But I actually learned how to do my military creases on my own uniforms by my dad. But he went in from James Island, South Carolina, along with a couple of his other brothers. They went Army. One of them went Navy. They are 7 kids. Now 3 of them are left. My dad was a Vietnam vet, so he had shore duty, ship duty, and of course in Vietnam. So I'm a byproduct of that. But talk about the man being squared away. He was always squared away. Even till his death, he actually wore the military shoes and always kept them shiny. So.
Yeah. It's funny, the things that we retain from our time in the service. My stepfather served in Korea in the Marine Corps. And from a very young age, all of us kids learned how to do like hospital corners on our beds, and, how not to take too hot of a shower and all that kind of stuff. So I remember all that.
I still make my bed that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? We get up every morning. We make the bed. That's the first thing we do.
I don't do that anymore, but I said I need to get back into it because all those old structures and norms that we had was actually a great foundation to grow up in.
Yeah. Yeah. And the one thing about making your bed first thing in the morning, so there's a guy that talks about this, famous speech, but when you make your bed first thing in the morning, you've already accomplished one thing, right?
I love that, Rear Admiral.
Yes. I could listen to that 100 times. So tell me a little bit about your mom.
My mom was Puerto Rican, from Ceiba, Puerto Rican, and she met my dad in a bar when she went with her sisters and told her sisters that man is mine. And needless to say, they got married. They had 6 children. My mom lost one of them growing up. So the oldest, unfortunately, is lost from birth. And pretty much she, unfortunately, passed away when I was 27.
Oh, so very young.
Very young. So my dad died at 52. I sat there literally between me and my another cousin who's also a veteran, Army veteran, Kaida Sterling. We're actually trying to see who can outlive their parents. And so far we have, thank God. But it's a closeness that we kind of lost. But my parents are always in my heart with me. And as I run into fellow veterans, which I just ran into one on Friday, and she had just lost her mom recently and just kind of got discombobulated. But I told her, you know what? Your mom is right in your heart.
Yeah.
So it's just really, it's sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
It's a loss. But when you think about the old values that you were taught, and that is how I actually raised my daughters, it actually works out pretty good. I actually had a great upbringing, even though my parents got divorced when I was 7. But up until, actually, it was probably, 7. So needless to say, I grew up on a base.
Mm-hmm.
I missed that lifestyle because it was not only just fellow soldiers or fellow sailors, it was also like a family,
right?
Beyond the family.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And you miss it. Like you get to miss it twice, right? Because once you were an adult and kind of left for a little while. And then once you finally got out, I remember like the last day being on base was just very strange for me, but I want to ask a question, and this is going to sound kind of strange, but first of all, would you like me to get you a tissue?
I'm good.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I'll go get one. My wife lost her mom when she was quite young, and I remember when my wife reached the age that her mother was when her mother passed away, and it was a very strange feeling for her because she never got to see her mom be her age, right? And so there's a lot of things she didn't get to see and learn. Did you kind of feel that way?
I do sometimes. My mom was Puerto Rican and an excellent cook.
Mm-hmm.
So I can still remember the flavors. In fact, when my dad was stationed in Roosevelt Roads, Puerto Rico, I remember walking across the little rocks to get to grandma's house. And then you had to go up the big old stairs. It wasn't really big stairs, but as a child, it was huge.
Right.
With the big old canisters of crackers. And then you also, the saltine crackers. Mm-hmm. And then it was the walking across the river just to get to the store. And then don't go on the mango tree. If you did, she made you go get a switch and she will pop you for the mangoes. But it was a beautiful place. I'm actually going to try to get there next year to visit and then visit family that's there.
The funny thing about Puerto Rico, so I was, when I was in the Navy, the shooting range for the ships was Vieques Island, right? And I hadn't thought about it in years, but my son got married a few years ago, and their honeymoon was at Vieques. I'm like, what? And it's all cleaned up, and it's a safe place to be, and it's beautiful now. But yeah, I was kind of like, you're gonna go spend your honeymoon on a bombing range? I didn't realize that they had taken care of all that. I loved Roosevelt Roads, one of my favorite places to go.
Yep. So I get to San Diego regularly. In fact, unfortunately lost a family member who was an Army veteran this last week. So I'm going home for his funeral. Mm-hmm. But I always stop at 32nd Street. And then I used to work at the Naval Medical Center, San Diego. So it was really nice. And it's still to this day, I'm always surrounded around veterans. I actually feel comfortable around the veterans.
Yeah. Yeah, the one thing that's changed about San Diego, though, is RTC is no longer there.
Unfortunately.
I took my daughter there a few years ago, and I was going to show her where I went to basic, but it wasn't there.
We used to actually go fishing there and take our dogs. So where the dad, instead, if they had fleas, we wouldn't have fleas no more because my dad would pick them up and throw them into the water. But just to go fishing, I didn't like fishing and I sure don't like touching worms, but it was just that bonding time, which was really nice.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk a little bit about you. So you kind of moved around a bit. And I'm assuming eventually you graduated school?
I did. I graduated from Morris High School in San Diego,
Okay.
1989.
Uh-huh.
And then I did do 2 years of college later on in years. But pretty much I got married to a veteran, actually 2 veterans. And while I'm no longer married, they moved on. I moved on and I stayed in the reserve. And thank God I did. I ended up getting 20 years active duty, 2 years active, 18 reserve.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have a lot of friends that are from the service. So as we see each other, run into each other, it's just like coming back home.
Yeah, the conversation tends to pick up right where it left off, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
To include going to Italy, we used to go to Sigonella every year. So that was nice. So I did that for 5 years. And even going there, some of the guys are still crazy and we still connect. One of them is my best friend. So if I need my TV hooked up or something going on, he knows about it. In fact, he actually taught me a little money trick to where he's very money savvy. And it was just save your dollar bills. And because it has 1 through 12. So I would say 1, 2, 3, 7 for my grandson now, and 10 for the other grandson, and 12 for me. So at the end of the year, I have about $800 to $900, and every year I'm challenging myself to see how much more I can get. But I call it my blow money, and so whatever I want to do with it is what I do with it.
Yeah, just put it away, and then you've got it. So tell me, when did you join the Navy?
I joined the Navy February 2nd of 1986.
Okay.
I had actually went to New York. So I joined it. I came in from New York, where I was dating somebody and I said, I want to join the military. So I went back home and needless to say, got home, told my dad what I was going to do. And then I joined, did 2 years. I went to Florida, not Lackland. I went to NTC, Florida,
Okay.
Orlando, Florida.
Orlando, yep.
So that was nice. While I was there, I met somebody that was one of the ex-boyfriend's friends, and he told me to take up chaplain's assistant. So I was like, oh, okay. So religious program specialist it was. And come to find out, even years later, it is my personality. It is about servicing, providing service.
Yeah, I think that's a common thread with a lot of veterans that I know is they joined for various reasons, but when they got done, they continued to serve as well. Now, Orlando at the time, if I'm not mistaken, that was the only place that women went for basic training, right?
It was.
For the Navy. Tell me a little bit about, you grew up in a military family, but what was it like to get to basic training and to start on that road of your life there?
Culture shock, truly a culture shock. Mm-hmm. One, I came up under a very stringent family. I won't even say it's stringent because we were actually pretty good, but it was a culture shock in terms of formation and structure and of that kind. Mm-hmm. We had it at home, but it wasn't to that extent of getting up, moving. But other than that, boot camp, which I didn't like the shorts, and now I don't like them even more because they were too short.
Yeah.
But the meeting some people, which one young lady, I ran into her while I was on active duty years later, and that was nice. Mm-hmm. Lost touch since then, but it was really, really nice. Food wasn't all that great, but you know what? At least you knew breakfast was always on point.
Right, right. And I'm just curious too, having grown up on bases, it's a whole different ball game when you're, a dependent and you're just kind of free to walk around, do whatever you want to do. And now you're on a military base, but it's not quite that way. Was that a little strange for you?
It was.
Yeah.
It was to the point. It's like, dang, are we gonna finish? Are we gonna finish? Are we gonna finish? And then I had to get my hair cut because it fell below my collar at the time, mm-hmm. and I was like, dang, that was my first haircut like that. It was like, ooh. But
Not exactly a beauty salon there, was it?
no, it is not, and very different from what you see now. When I go up to Selfridge and you see the young ladies with ponytails that are long, it was like we didn't do that when we were in the military. It's like no, we had to pin it up. And I get the change because now the alopecia is a big issue.
Right.
But it's like no, you guys need to go back to the old school. At least maybe not tighten your ponytails so tight. But it's that structure that was really nice in the uniform. And when you see somebody, it was a proud moment to just see somebody in the uniform. Now is like we have the men. And I was like, okay, but where's the women at? So just to see the women in the old uniforms and the way we were square tight was really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think when you talk, so I talk to a lot of veterans, as you know, I feel like every generation of veterans looks at the next generation and there's something like, oh, they don't do like this, or they don't do that, or, that was way easier. It's so much easier now than it was then. But it's funny because every generation of veterans kind of has that outlook. And I think maybe a lot of it's just we don't like change that much, maybe.
That is true. But when you look at the women on the Navy side uniform, I would not want to wear those Cracker Jacks. And thank God I didn't have to.
Right.
But seeing my daughter in it, it's like, girl, you look like a boy.
Well, I think, women are different than men in certain respects. And I think the uniforms maybe should reflect that.
Yeah, it should.
Yeah, absolutely. So was your A school then in Orlando as well?
My A school was in San Francisco, Treasure Island.
Mm-hmm.
So 8 weeks wasn't bad. There was an incident where somebody had wanted me to drug mule to New York, and I was like, I reported it, and I was like, ooh. So I started walking around with the big old the white socks, tube socks with quarters in it, because he actually told, when I was passing him and another person, he actually told the person to hit me. I was like, I wish you would, but then after that, I became a little bit more hyper vigilant.
Mm-hmm.
So not too bad, but it wasn't the greatest, but we had a good time. Still have a couple of pictures of me behind the typewriter. Couldn't type back then, even going to active duty. I wasn't even typing 25 words a minute, which was part of my protocol.
Right.
But now I type over 70 words a minute. So like, ooh, okay.
Yeah. Learn the basics and you're okay. I just want to clarify something for everyone. You said you had the white socks with change in it. That was a sock that had money in it that was knotted up so you could use it as a weapon, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, you weren't walking around with change in your socks.
Not changing my socks.
Yeah, I just want to make sure people understood what we were talking about.
No, my dad always taught me, even as a young kid, somebody hit you, grab whatever you can and knock the crap out of them. And that was part of defense.
Yeah, no such thing as a fair fight, right?
Correct.
Yeah, use what you can. Yeah, so I'm curious, somebody's just approached you and said, hey, would you mind taking drugs back and forth to New York for us?
They actually did. They didn't say drugs, but they just said drop stuff off and back and forth. So I was like, oof, okay, no, I ain't going to do that. So I did report it because it didn't seem right.
Yeah.
I didn't want to tell my dad because my dad would have been up there and come to find out I'm like my dad. When my daughters got in trouble or somebody was trying to bully them, I would be the first one there and include knocking houses, even though I had a bad knee.
Yeah. My
attitude is, nah, you're not going to bully my kids or the kids that I'm around with the bus stop. So still have that momentum of protect and serve.
Right. So you get to A. How long's your A school again?
A school was 8 weeks.
Okay. And you get through that, and then do you get your first assignment?
No, I ended up being on the reserve side. I came in on the Reserve Mariners program.
Oh,
so I went reserve first and then came home for about 30 days and I was like, nah, this ain't going to happen. Then I went to New York with a guy I was dating, sat there 2 months and then I was like, okay, nah, it's time to go on active duty. So I went ahead and went to a recruiter and went active.
Okay. And they used to have a lot of different programs too, like the Reserve Mariners. They had, was it the TAR program?
They did.
And all kinds of different things. But so then you, from New York, you went active duty then?
I did. But I ended up going back home to be processed out and then went to Florida.
Okay. All right. And then where did you end up in Florida?
In Florida, it was Orlando for boot camp. Mm-hmm. Once I left boot camp, came home, and then I went to Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay. All right. So I want to make sure I get the timeline right. So when you went into the reserves, you signed up in the Reserve Mariner program first, right?
I did.
Okay. And does that have a basic training then and all that?
Basic training was Florida, Orlando, Florida.
So you went to Orlando for the Reserve program.
Nope. I went to Orlando for boot camp. Came home, did about 30 days reserve.
Okay.
And then I went to Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay. All right. I was confused.
Nope. I apologize for that.
No worries. It's Monday morning, so probably not your fault. All right. So you end up in Norfolk, Virginia. And are you on sea duty then, or shore duty, or how?
That was shore duty.
Okay.
So, in fact, I ran into my first suicidal veteran back then while I was cleaning out the chapel. Just went in there for some reason to do something in there, and there was a young man who unfortunately lost his grandmother, and he was contemplating suicide. So we talked for a good amount of time. Didn't make him come in, but and I'm not sure what happened to him, but we didn't hear anything bad about anything that happened on a suicidal wise, so that was good.
Right.
So it's kind of funny that now I've been a peer support specialist at the Detroit VA, South Carolina, and I still practice it. So even though I'm not working, I still practice it. So now my thing is, you know what, suicide is not an option for us. It is about getting the help that we need, talking it out, because that suicidal thought is just 1 second or 1 minute. But by the time you contemplate it to get into doing it, it's all over. So the good thing is talk to somebody. So that way, sometimes it's talking to people and then we get our own answers. Sometimes it just might be a word or two that they give us that encouragement and to walk us, hand warm us to someone that can actually help us mentally.
Right. Which really started out when you were in Norfolk then.
Correct.
So how long were you active duty in Norfolk?
2 years.
Okay. And where were you located in Norfolk?
Naval Station, Norfolk.
Okay.
So we had the naval station side, and then we had the ships on the other side of the base. Okay. And then we had naval air station side. So we had three sides around us.
Yeah. Now, when I was there, I remember I went to Dam Neck, Virginia for training, which was right across from the Naval Air Station. And at lunch, we'd get in our cars and go watch the fighter jets take off and land. Which is still amazing to see. Oh, yeah. That and those great big giant, I can't remember what they called those planes, but the huge ones that every time they took off, it looked like they were going to run right into the docks, right into the ships because they were so big. The Galaxy, I think is what it was called. And the front end would open up and they would just load all kinds of stuff in them. I'm used to the backside, but yeah, the back loaders. But in fact, I actually flew on one with one of my friends. His unit used to be going to Tampa, and needless to say, we came back one evening, and the flight, as soon as we landed, all you hear was a big old boom, and I was like, "Oh my God!" I've always kept my seatbelt on because I'm somewhat paranoid, especially after I got older. Right. But the young lady that was next to me was next to the door that actually fell, and she was just walking up and down, back and forth while the plane was flying. But as soon as it landed and it went boom, it was like, ooh. So I'm still looking to go to space A flight. So I'm looking for another one for those. It would be great. And then other than that, it's just a great time being around fellow veterans. Right. So so when you got done in Norfolk, Virginia, though, did you get out then and go into the Marine Reserve, or how long did you stay on active duty? 2 years active duty total. Okay. Boot camp was 2 months. Then I went. The rest of it was 1 month in the reserve, and then the rest of it was active duty. And then came out of active duty, flew back to San Diego. By then I was married, and the then husband was at San Diego, a couple of ships, and then the surface warfare. Okay. So went back to San Diego, had my first daughter there, left there, went to Texas, did the reserves in Texas, met some great, amazing people there, left there, went back to San Diego, left San Diego, came to Michigan, actually. So what brought you to Michigan? I was married with my second husband and second daughter's father. So he was from here, so that he could spend time with our daughter, I moved here. So was he a military guy? He was. Okay. So two military guys. Two military guys. Yeah. Both Navy or? Both Navy. Okay. All right. So you get back to Michigan, and then so when When would this have been?
The second marriage was what? Wow, 2018.
Okay. All right. And how old are your daughters?
My daughters are 36, 30, and 26.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So a little bit of a
Spanned.
yeah. Yeah, they didn't like necessarily grow up together then.
No, they actually did it for a certain point.
Yeah.
But after we got divorced, then everybody's on their own little ways, and some of them kept some of my mannerisms, and some of them just went off. But for me, they always know me as when something happens and you ask, "Well, do you want me to come up there?" Nah, you always go overboard, and it's really nope. Let's get the job done the first time, so that we don't have to keep going back.
Right. Right. So you said that you spent 18 years in the reserves total.
I did
Okay, and that was all Marine Corps Reserve.
all Navy and 2 years on, maybe 2 to 3 years on Marine side.
Oh, okay, all right. And did you do the same job that you had been doing, or were you doing something different?
Same job, but collateral duties when the chapel, you can't have more than one person at the chapel plus the active duty because then you get bored.
Right.
So I started doing a little bit of the medical. When I was in San Diego, I would do the medical and just go do vitals.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went off to, when I got here, I was going into PCSD and doing the admin stuff. So.
Okay. All right. So keeping busy.
Keep busy.
Yeah. And then when did you finally retire? Did you retire out of the reserves then?
I did. March 2nd of 2006.
Okay. All right. So you had a while to wait before you could actually collect that paycheck, right?
Finally, I can apply for it in June
Uh-huh.
of next year. So December 26th, I should be able to collect it.
Okay. Yeah. I just started collecting mine this year.
Lucky you.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a long, because I retired in 2010.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, a little while to wait, but hey, it was worth the wait for sure.
I'm looking forward to that funds because it do something else different in my house.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing too is with that retirement is benefits. You know, I still get my benefits from the VA, but there's, I can go see a civilian doctor using my TRICARE benefits as well. So lots of great things happen.
It is.
When you turn 60.
It truly is. I actually, when I'm helping veterans with their service connections, I just tell them, you know what, especially those that are working at the VA, no, make sure you get your medical before you retire, rather it's medical or you just retire of age, and then you keep your Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is what I did when I stopped working when I had to unfortunately medically retire because my migraines, I kept my insurance, so I get to go both ways.
Right.
But I had a total knee replacement a couple of years ago, and needless to say, I went outside, and thank God I went outside.
Let's take a quick break.
Hey, listeners, we need your help to keep the Veterans Archives podcast going. We're a nonprofit dedicated to preserving the stories of our nation's heroes, and we provide this service completely free to veterans. Your support helps us record, share, and archive these incredible stories so future generations never forget the sacrifices made for our freedom. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. Visit veteransarchives.org to contribute today. Help us honor their service by ensuring their voices are heard. And thank you for your support, and thank you to all the veterans who have served our country. Yeah, I mean, there's certain things I think that the civilian doctors do a little bit better.
Way
Maybe.
better.
Yeah. So when you got to Michigan, did you immediately start working for the VA then?
I did not. I actually tried to transfer here from the Department of DOD, Department of Defense, working at the Naval Medical Center, San Diego, and they never selected me. So unfortunately, Allen Park had closed. Then they went over to Detroit, and I finally did get in.
Okay.
So worked as a peer support specialist, and needless to say, it's been also my calling.
Uh-huh. So that's what you've been doing since then.
Since then, when I had to medically retire, I ended up, just before I went medically retired, because I became suicidal with my migraines. They were so bad that I was running to ER or fast track 4 to 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week. So I stepped down from the peer support specialist, and then I went over to the veterans benefit side. So I learned all about the compensations and whatnot. And when I had to medically retire, I just tried to take care of myself first, try to maintain the migraines and get on some kind of medication that was able to help me. And then from there, I medically retire, and then I just volunteer now.
Okay. All right. And you, were migraines something that you had? Or did this just sort of happen at some point? You just started getting them.
I had them as a kid, and then I had them while I was on active duty, but did not know. I forgot about the migraines because I was a kid then.
Right.
But they got more severe while I was on active duty, even to include when we were doing our PRTs.
Yeah.
And I would have some massive migraines, a massive head issues to where I was even throwing up. So it did take a couple of years for my private doctor to finally say, oh, these are migraines. And then I did not take care of them until 2014 after a car hit me when I was going to the VA for work. And it became every day.
Yeah.
I was like, God, this is crazy. But Michael Wesner, who's a nurse practitioner, thank God for him because he would not let me leave that VA until he did a CT of my head.
Mm.
And after that, I started come to find out I had pseudotumor cerebri, which was causing me to go blind with papillary edema. And I ended up having to medically retire from that part.
Okay. All right. And then you just kind of picked up and started volunteering then.
Correct.
Yeah. And so what do you do in your volunteer role now?
Rather, if somebody needs some help with their service connections, I just kind of guide them with what the process, correct the verbiage, as well as, no, that's not right. This is how you do it. And then if they need something, I give them the forms. If I need to tell them to do an intent to file, get their medical records from active duty, get their history of diagnosis from the VA or their medical private practice, and then go see a service officer for the rest of it to implement what they can file for.
Okay. Now, do you volunteer for a group or a company, or how does that work?
Nope, that part is just by itself.
Okay.
But I do volunteer at the Stand Down, Southeastern Michigan Veteran Stand Down, which helps veterans navigate stigmas of mental health as well as connect to resources that are available and the VA as well as the benefit side.
Okay. And this happens every year?
Every year.
Okay. Now, do they do it in other parts of the state too?
They do. Actually, they do it around the country.
Uh-huh.
So every place is different depending on who's in charge of it and how the board runs it. But it's pretty much the same purpose to help navigate inclement weather, resources available to the veterans, connect them to the VA, dental, as well as the benefit side.
Because I think a lot of veterans don't realize the benefits that they have earned. I think the other thing too is, this is an interesting question that comes up a lot. People don't realize that they're veterans. Do you run into that?
I do. I've even ran into a gentleman who was a Vietnam vet at Costco's in Livonia. Actually, two of the guys there. One of them, he actually told me his plan for suicide. So I connected, and I asked him about his service connection. He told me where he was at. I said, well, let's connect you to somebody that can help you with that service connection. And sure enough, he did. So I saw him months later. I forgot what he looked like, but he came to me and said, thank you for helping me. And then he told me. So to see him still flourish and navigating and getting connected to the VA and getting help was really amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So you refer people to VSOs and that sort of thing. You help them with what they're doing, but you also refer them out to
I do.
Service officers, that kind of thing. Okay. Yeah, I don't mean to jump around. I'm just
No,
my brain's going all over the place here.
But I only refer to people that I know I would trust. Because bottom line is, when I'm referring you to somebody and they're not following through on their end, or they're not that great,
right,
that comes back to me. So I still have that pride and that military pride to help my fellow veterans, but make sure that they're not being forgotten or forsaken.
Right. And as with any group, business, or whatever you want to call it, there are people who do a really good job, and there are people who don't. And it's important to find the people who do a really good job. And I think by and large, our VSOs are really out there trying to do a really good job. But like any other place, a cross section of society, so you really have to do your due diligence.
Very true. Very true.
I found that out myself. So I do want to go back to the veteran thing though, right? Because I think a lot of people who served in the military, and again, we've interviewed almost 120 people now, and many times people don't think of themselves as veterans because they served for 2 years and they never saw combat, or all of these other things. But the truth is, you're still a veteran.
Very true.
Right? You might not be able to join the VFW because they have very specific rules, but you're still a veteran. And one question I always ask people is, did you serve? and I get a lot of different answers rather than I just ask if they're a veteran.
Just from the misconception of what is a veteran. Like the VA, you have to have 2 years active duty to go to the VA.
Right.
But if you get a service connection, then you could be seen at the VA for that service connection.
Right. Right.
But I just went to Savannah to visit my cousin who's a veteran because she had surgery. So I was her +1 for the surgery.
Uh-huh.
And I ran into her neighbor went to the Sam's Club with me and ran into one of his friends who's service connected, but he didn't put in a lot of stuff. It's like, man, no, you qualify for this stuff. Apply for it.
Right.
So he allowed me to put his paperwork in through the DAV here. And then he has to follow up. Once they do their paperwork, he'll follow up in Savannah to get his stuff going.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is, no, you got to connect the stuff for them because they're not understanding the process. And then people will tell them the wrong information. So it's important to know the right, accurate information. And if you don't know it, guide them. There are different modules on YouTube. KMD 89, Dwayne Kimball is one of my favorites. And he gives you the resources.
Mm-hmm.
He does free classes where you can learn the information and support. So there's veteran programs out here that are supportive.
Well, and I think too that pride plays a role sometimes in people not wanting to apply for benefits. And I think it's important that these are earned benefits. These aren't handouts. This isn't something that if I get my benefits, somebody else doesn't. If you're a veteran and you qualify for these benefits and you've earned them, then you should get them.
Very true. I had to tell a friend who passed away a couple of years back, Danny Lynn, a Vietnam vet,
Mm-hmm.
that no, you've earned these. And we did get it by the time just before he passed away, we did get his benefits. So now his wife is able to use that benefit. Thank God.
Right.
There's even a nurse, a Korean War veteran nurse, and she wasn't even service connected. We finally got her up to 90%. And she's going to be taking the honor flight coming up in September.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, those are really cool too. I talked to a lot of veterans who take the honor flight to DC. It's quite an honor.
Very. And as if you have not been able to go, I actually went as a guardian for a Vietnam vet, Gail Owens, beautiful person. And needless to say, she asked me to go. It was like, hey, no problem. And we've been buddies ever since. Well, actually, we were buddies before that, but it was just an experience that was, you can't even mention it, to where the emotions behind it.
Yeah.
To see the names on the wall. So very, very exciting.
Yes. Yeah. I've talked to a lot of World War II vets and a lot of Vietnam vets also who have participated in that. It's a really cool thing for veterans to do.
Yep. When we went last year in June, it was 150 of us,
Mm-hmm.
and totally we expelled the hours by 16,000 something hours of all active duty service.
Oh, wow.
So we had Cold War, Vietnam, Korean, a couple of Koreans, and then the New Age. So it was really, really nice. Very nice experience. And if anybody wants to, when they go up there and just do the goodbye and then receive them when they come back.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
But the priority right now is their Korean War veterans and the Vietnam vets.
Right. Right. And there's a website I think you can go to find out more about that, right?
Correct. Every state has it.
Uh-huh.
So you just go to the honor flight in your state, and then they should be able to connect you to the resources that you need to get connected to it.
Yeah. So speaking of upcoming resources, right, we were talking about the Southeast Michigan Stand Down, and that's coming up.
Yes, it's coming up September 24th and 25th at the UAW Region 1 Hall.
Mm-hmm.
They're graciously hosting us, so we're going to try to do an excellent service this year. The president is Jeff Devereaux of No Veteran Left Behind, and Evan Welch, which is a hand up, both nonprofit organizations helping the Stand Down to run smoothly.
And UAW Region 1 really supports veterans. This is not the first thing I've heard of them doing. They do a lot.
They do. We last year we had a couple of even from Chrysler coming down and bringing backpacks and stuff full of goodies for the veterans. So that was really nice. But UAW one is awesome because they're actually putting us forward into their buildings and giving us the facility to be able to house our veterans for the day and even feed them, get them the resources that they need, and go from there.
Yeah. So if you're a Southeast Michigan veteran, that is going to be September 24th and 25th from 9 to 5 each day, right?
Correct.
And then registration, though, closes at 1 p.m. So they got to get there before 1 to register for that day.
Correct.
Okay.
But if there's a veteran that can't get there until a little bit after, if they see the president, they'll probably let them through.
You're not going to kick anybody out.
We're not going to kick anyone out, but it is a great experience. We have a DJ playing music who's one of the, actually, we come to find out we actually served together on the reserve side.
Oh.
And now he's a police officer at the Detroit VA. So he's coming down, volunteering his services for us just to make it a great time.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun.
Always fun. Always fun.
Well, good. So, in talking with you, it sounds like so you have this generational service within your family, which is, your father served and then you served, and then you got out and you continued to serve. And so it sounds like you'll be doing this for a while, at least until you just can't anymore.
Until I can't anymore. And when I have a migraine, I just kind of pull back, get the migraine out, and then I just keep it moving forward.
Yep. What do they say? Like when you're on the plane, you put the mask on yourself first and then you help other people. So yeah, when you're not feeling it, you got to take care of yourself.
Very true. I actually call it, it gives me purpose.
Yeah.
Sitting in front of the four walls, you get kind of tired of that. And that's where the depression sets in.
Mm-hmm.
So getting out, volunteering, helping somebody else actually helps. I also go to Wayne State Veteran Upward Bound
Mm-hmm.
for computer classes. From when I stopped working to current, the computer has changed drastically. So it's nice just to go up there and it's free for veterans. And then some of the students will actually go on to college.
Yeah. Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff out there for veterans too. I mean, training and, social interactions, all kinds of stuff. So we've covered a lot of things in the time that we've been talking. Is there anything we haven't covered that you wanted to talk about?
We haven't covered MVAA, Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency.
Yeah.
There's a women's conference coming up in October, and those are nice. This will be the 4th year. I went to 2 of them, and they were excellent. Nice, different things that they had. At one point, they had different models of therapy
Mm-hmm.
to include non-medication, meditation, sounding. So, which is up here and actually in LA, not LA. Lansing. Lansing has their office here where they actually just go and doing a sounding to where you doing little sound drums was really nice. But it gives still, again, that's for females. And then there's different resources out here to include a women's stand down coming up in December in Michigan. So if they go on Eventbrite, they can find that information. If you go on to MVAA, you can find out their information and what's available. And if any veteran is not aware of the benefits and somebody else is listening to your podcast, then address them to their state Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency, and that can guide them to the different resources. There is no reason why we are sitting out here suffering because we don't have to.
Right. And I know that the women's conference has always been something that's really a lot of the female veterans that I used to work with before I retired, they would go to that and they said it was just amazing. The stuff that they would bring back from there.
Very true.
Yeah. So lots of stuff coming up, lots of stuff going on. And it sounds like you'll be a face amongst all those people serving. As we kind of wind down our conversation today, I always ask one question before we go. And that question is, years from now, if someone's listening to kind of your life, your story, the things that you're doing, what would you like them to take away from that?
That whether you're a veteran or not, it's about service. Continue to serve someone else that's in need. You don't always have to give them money. Sometimes it's just listening to them. Maybe it might be a resource or connecting them to a resource. So if you hear or see somebody, even a homeless person, kind of guide them to 211, which is a research it's a resource for information. There's also even a site for suicide, and it's just getting that veteran connected so that veteran unfortunately does not commit suicide, and get them to the benefits that they need.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for coming out and talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. I love my fellow veterans, and it's a way to just promote what's available for them and hopefully steer someone else into getting out the house and just for a few minutes, just to navigate and socialize with someone else. We don't have to be alone in our homes. We don't have to be silent of what we're going through. Somebody else is going through it, and somebody else might have a resource to connect them to the benefits that we can all have earned.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Veterans Archives podcast. We truly appreciate you taking the time to listen and honor the incredible stories of our nation's heroes. Don't forget, you can catch us every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern on Wreaths Across America Radio, or stream past episodes anytime on Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and as I've said before, any place you can find a podcast, you can find the Veterans Archives podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share our content on YouTube and Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and across all social media. Every share helps us reach more people and preserve more stories. The Veterans Archives podcast is a nonprofit initiative, and our mission is simple: to give veterans a voice and ensure their stories are never forgotten. This service is completely free for veterans because their sacrifices deserve to be recognized and remembered. You want to help? Follow us, spread the word, and if you know a veteran with a story to tell, send them our way. Visit us at veteransarchives.org to learn more about how you can get involved. Thanks again for tuning in, and most importantly, thank you to all the veterans and their families for their service and sacrifice. Until next time, take care, and we will see you on the next episode of the Veterans Archives podcast.